Hey everyone, hopefully you can hear me. Test 1, 2. Hopefully my audio is good. Welcome everyone to another Rook 180 live stream. We're going to do some building on this live stream. We're going to run some belts. Hopefully we're going to get it printing too. That's the idea anyways. Answer some questions from you guys. Hopefully we can get it printing. I mean, there shouldn't be much left that we have to do. Answer some questions, chat about some stuff. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining. Thank you very much. Audio good, perfect, excellent. Give it a few minutes, let a couple people roll in here, and we can start chatting about Rook 180 and running some belts. I have assembled the XY carriage. There's not a whole lot involved in assembling XY, so I wanted to just get a little bit of it done, but we'll go over it. Hey Cash Crumb, doing well, thank you. Hunt, yeah, I would like to actually show off, I would like to show off Rook and Rook 180 mods in a YouTube video, hopefully. So I want to kind of shed light on the awesome community that we have on the Discord with all of the modifications and things like that, so people can kind of have a little quick rundown on all the mods that are out for Rook and also out for Rook 180. Cut costs on the 180. I'm trying to think what would be. You could definitely go with a glass bed like I have. Just a glass bed and painter's tape. That would save you about $50. You can definitely source some cheaper bearings and rods and things like that if you'd like. Bed is going to be the most important one. You could also save a bit of money on the power supply. I am running this off of an AC adapter, so that does work as well. So there's a little bit to be had, not too much. I've tried to cut costs as much as I possibly can to make this as affordable as possible, but there's only so much that I could cut out of the costs. Lucas, so Rook Evo is going to be coming out hopefully in a month or so. I'm going to be doing more updates on Patreon. G-Tech will give you printers. Why build them? I prefer building my own printers. I don't like standard. I mean, I've gotten a whole bunch of different printers from different manufacturers, so I prefer to build printers. I like having my own design. I like to try different things, and I like to make printers that are cheaper, especially like CoreXY like this. No one's giving me CoreXY printers. I have a Second Cube that I'm going to be building on live stream, but sometimes it's nice to get inspiration from some printers. So yeah, I do like to get inspiration. I will be honest with you. I really do like to get inspired by other builds and designs and things like that. That's why I'm going to be building a Second Cube. I really want to get inspired by different things that have been done on that. There's already some cool things in that build that I'm very excited about, like gear reduction steppers for Z and things like that. But yeah, you're probably not going to see a whole lot more quote-unquote review printers on my channel. I'm going to really focus on my own printers and Clipper printers. So let's talk about assembling the XY here. Would love some help designing a non-moving. I thought about designing like Voron 2.4, a cheaper Voron 2.4, maybe one day. I have some ideas. Yeah, Lucas, I thought exactly about it as well. If people just want to purchase the Evo. So the the Rook Evolution files, there's a couple options. The reason why I have it on Patreon is because when you subscribe on Patreon on the Rook Evolution tier, you also get a private Rook Evolution channel on Discord. So a members only channel on Discord for the Rook Evolution as well. However, if you want to purchase the files outright and not do Patreon, I might think about putting on like cults or something like that. I haven't really decided yet. You can certainly go on Patreon, subscribe for the 1 month for $10, and then just unsubscribe. That's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that if you just want the files. Yeah, flying gantry is for surely complicated, and I'm not going to be tackling that anytime soon. Hey, Stone. Awesome. Very, very glad to have you here, and definitely join the Discord if you're not. And there's a lot of information on there with people building Rook and also Rook 180. But yeah, to Lucas's point, I'm open to ideas on just single purchase of the Rook Evolution files. Just a note, the Rook Evolution, I am going to rename it. It doesn't look like the Rook anymore, and there's going to be some different things and whatnot, but definitely don't be afraid to join the Patreon once the files are out. Again, the STL files won't be out for like at least a month. I will make an announcement on YouTube and also an announcement on Discord when the files are available for those people who just want to go on to Patreon, pay the $10 Canadian fee, and then just cancel the subscription. That's completely fine. So to talk about Rook 180 here real quick, I have assembled a Y. You can see it moves really, really nicely here. My table is not level, so just ignore the wobbling here. We'll fix that in a moment here. I'll put something under one of the feet and we'll fix that. But the Y is very, very smooth. I'm very happy with that. You'll notice here there's clamps so that you can actually disassemble the Y without taking the frame apart. This is a big, big change from the first version of the original Rook 180 frame. These were pressed in when you were assembling the frame and you couldn't take them out, which was a big oversight in my part. So I wanted to make sure that you can take out these rods right out of the actual printer with these clamps here. So there's clamps on both sides. So you can actually completely take the rods out and completely disassemble the printer without taking the frame apart. Awesome, Cash. Great to see it. I really am going to put a lot of time and effort into the Evo, the Rook Evo, or whatever I end up calling it. And really making that printer like as high quality as I possibly can. A really nice form factor, have all the features I wanted, like fully enclosable, all that kind of stuff. So definitely the baby brother to this, and kind of everything I've learned about printers like this. So awesome. Checking out mainboards. Excellent. I have ordered a Monster MK8 for this printer, so I will have a config on Github for this. Right now there's just a FISEC Spider config. That's all I have right now, but there will be a Monster MK8, an MKS Monster 8 config on GitHub, probably in a couple weeks. No worries, John. We can definitely help you out with the wiring. It's quite easy. I'll do a live stream Q&A showing off the wiring a little bit. We can talk about it here on the live stream as well too, if you like. I hope to mount the board and plug everything in and get the printer printing today, I hope. That's the idea anyways. But yeah, certainly. So that's kind of one nice feature that is on here, the clamps. So again, there's no heat sets. These are just held in with M3 bolts and M3 nuts. Very easy. You can crank them right down and tension them really well. Hey Ian, welcome. Oh, having to wait for a month. I couldn't do that. I usually order a lot of stuff from Amazon so I can get it as fast as possible, but Love the Rook, but don't like the support in anything freemium. Open source, my Rook Evolution. Yeah, the Rook and Rook 180 are always going to be free, and they're still going to get updates, but the Rook Evolution to me is so much more work, and it's a brand new printer from the ground up. I would prefer people just paying the one-time fee. I mean, $10 is not a lot of money, and grabbing that printer and having more of a premium experience, I guess, if they want to. Like I say, there'll be Patreon perks like a private Discord channel, private live streams and stuff. But I mean, you can still build the Rook Evolution, grab the files from Patreon, and still join the Discord and ask questions and stuff like that in the normal Rook channel and all that kind of stuff. That's completely fine. I don't want to paywall it. I think the price is low enough, and I think I would like to have a higher end printer so that people can, if they want to, have more of a tailored premium experience. But I will always still keep releasing files for free for the Rook and Rook 180 and other printer types, but I may have one or two printers that are on Patreon only, just so that I can support myself and builds and things like that. The more printers I make, like I have to have a website pretty soon here. I have to pay GitHub payments now and things like that. So there's costs involved now for me to create printers like this. I want to have a website for everyone so they can see all my printers in one place, see the status of all the printers, what's beta, what's fully released, all that kind of stuff. Are you still going to update? Yes, Rook 180 will still get updates regularly for sure. I'm not abandoning anyone. And in fact, everyone who's on the live stream right now, the original Rook is getting a big update in about a week. So you heard that here first. The original Rook is getting a big update in 1 week. That's for free for everyone on Discord. GitHub, I have to pay bandwidth fees. They're not crazy expensive, but it's a monthly fee that I have to pay for bandwidth. I've already ran out of bandwidth on GitHub. And then, I have $20, $30 a month for a website. And then there's a whole bunch of time sink into that website, building it out and all that kind of stuff. So it's definitely not expensive. And that's why I'm trying to keep the entry low for the Rook Evolution or whatever I end up calling it. But yeah, like I say, Rook is getting an update here in about a week. Again, a lot of nice to have and stuff like that. We'll see how many people join and maybe I'll show that off. It's okay, Lucas. The original Rook, like today, is still a good printer. Don't be afraid. The bill of materials is not changing. So if you do print out all the stuff for the Rook today, and I announce the Rook MK1 or the next Rook next week, you just print parts if you want the upgrade. I do need to start working on a Rook that's like self-replicating so it can print its own parts. I'm not quite there yet. This only has a 180 by 180 build area, so it can't quite print itself. I think there's a question about the bed. Yeah, not using heat sets. I'm trying to make it beginner friendly for sure. I have used the Manta board a couple times, Cash. They're great. I could potentially make a Manta config as well. So Sean, for the bed, if the power's cut, so I have a dock macro that I generally set up. So at the end of every print, the bed docks on the bottom here. If there's a power outage, the bed generally will fail. There's options to get around that, but they're expensive. Either geared stepper motors or brakes and stuff like that. So there are options. You could run a UPS power supply if you have a lot of power outages, like quick blip power outages. A UPS would be great. But in general, the bed's only going to fall on a power outage. At the end of every print, the bed will lower itself and dock. So Rick, yes, Dennis. Rook MK1, no more dual Z motors. Single Z on Rook MK1, official. I thought about doing some cool LED strips for like some angled, possibly. I don't quite know how I want to do that yet, but it would be nice to have some LED strips here and here, kind of angled in, or sorry, here and here, so that they kind of shine down on the build area. That would be a cool feature for sure. Someone maybe, do you mean an enclosed version of the original Rook? It depends on what you have for a bed slinger. So you can't use the frame, so that's a lot of waste. You can use the motors and maybe the main board sometimes if the main board supports Clipper. Honestly, it's probably easier just to sell it like used, or again, it really depends on what it is. A lot of the parts usually aren't usable, but motors and main board and hot end, if it's an ender, you could generally use some of that stuff. Yeah, Manta is a great board for sure. I've definitely enjoyed using it on my simple core MK1. Worked really well, and the CB1 works really well as well. Yeah, Ian, definitely double check to make sure you have the Rook Evolution channel. There's definitely some people in there right now, so check that out. If you have problems, just DM me. Michael, any version for 8mm rods for Z? Are you talking about Rook 180 8mm rods? Yeah, I'm. Someone hopefully will mod the Super Pinda on the Rook if you like. Not my fan. I'm not a huge fan of those type of probes, but if that's what you have laying around, certainly. That's what the whole idea for the Rook is make the printer that you want. So that's how the Y rods get clamped to the frame here. So while we're chatting here, let's run some belts really quick. I'm going to try to show off and go over kind of what's going on. Oh, the Velman 8200K. I definitely seen one of those on in my local marketplace. Kind of a neat printer. I would clipper that and just use it as is and kind of tinker with it. I probably wouldn't take it apart for the Rook. Oh, hey, Steve Builds. Welcome. Nice to see you here. I'm using a King Run KPS3 to build Homer mod. Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, there's I don't even know how many mods we have for the Rook on the Discord now. Like over 35 mods, and they're all awesome. I would love to have so many different different Rooks if I had the space, but unfortunately I don't. Okay, so we're just gonna start running the belts here. Someone maybe, my whole idea behind these printers are to be to print with quality. Quality first, speed after. I'm not trying to compete with any other printers that are doing like speed benches and stuff like that. It's fun to see people push these printers, but generally these are meant to print very, very well. Is the idea. It's not meant to be. I'm not meant to make like speed demons out of these particular machines. These printed frame machines. They're meant to just to get beginners into building, get beginners into Clipper, that type of thing, and have a really neat printer that you can tinker with and modify and make your own type thing. So we're running the lower belt here first, if anyone is curious. I'm in Canada, Alberta, Canada. see if I can run this belt here through here now. There we go. So again, we're running the lower belt here. I'm running it through the lower carriage here. Yes, Rook can for surely do some quality. And again, maybe I'll show off the update Rook MK1 later in the stream if you guys would like. I do have the Rook MK1 sitting on the floor behind me, so maybe I'll show that off near the end of the stream if you guys want. Yeah, you could probably, as long as the diameter is okay, as long as you can get a decent 12 millimeter diameter, you should be all right. You honestly could save a little bit of money if you could do carbon rods. 12 millimeter carbon rods on the Z are cheap. They're only like $6. It's not a high speed axis, the Z. So you could actually potentially use cheaper materials for the Z, certainly. And only the front rods here are actually part of the motion. The rear ones are not. These could even be 3D printed, or you could use some other materials for sure. Something like that. Oh, I have not seen that. The multicolor mod for RatRig vCore. I have not seen that. If you're on the Discord, link it in one of the channels. I'd be interested in checking that out. The design is complete. So Navi, I try not to change any of the STL files. So the Rook 180 is very, very much complete as far as bill of materials, as far as stuff to purchase. I'm not going to change what to buy for this printer. I am going to, there might be some revisions on like the tool head and things like that later on, but you're not going to have to rebuy parts. If I can get these feeding through. Okay, that doesn't want to seem to feed. Yeah, I mean, you could, if you really wanted to. The back ones, there's no motion involved, so dowels would be a neat choice for sure. For the rear ones, that is. There we go. So you can see here we're running the lower belt. I'll move this back just a touch. So here's our lower belt. Yeah, sometimes AliExpress is hard to search. That's for sure. And I am using a few older parts still on this version. So again, that's proof of, you know, you can still build this printer with some older, I have older Y carriages on this printer. They still work completely fine. Luke, I actually don't know what this would compare to as far as in its price range. So this is about like 450 US to build, and it's CoreXY triple Z. I don't know another printer that's in this price range off the top of my head. Going a bit closer here, so you can see I've ran the lower belt here, and I have updated this. These were too tight initially, so that is fixed on the GitHub, but this still does work. So we'll see if I can finagle these in here on stream, but sometimes it's really a big pain because I made these really, really tight, but we'll try. Hey Joe, welcome, thanks. Thanks for coming. How'd you get into 3D? Woodcat, How did I get into 3D printing? RC. So drones, FPV drones. I actually used to design FPV drones, 3D print them, test them first, and then get them cut in carbon fiber. That's kind of where I got started in 3D printing. My very first 3D printer was a MakerBot Replicator 2. So I'm just using my flathead screwdriver here just to pry the belts through. You won't have to do that on the GitHub version because I fixed the tolerances on these. So it's not the end of the world. You just need a small flathead screwdriver in it. You can pry the belts through. I don't think you can say that really. You can get a kangaroo. Yeah, there's definitely, you can buy an Ender 3 that prints really great for $100, I think in the US, something like that. But that's a completely different printer, right? That's not CoreXY, that's not running Clipper, that's not Triple Z, but still a fine printer. If you're just getting into 3D printing, certainly there's nothing wrong with that. All right, so you can see here we have the lower belts ran. Everything's actually looking quite nice. I'm really happy with that. Everything's lined up quite well. Yeah, salad fork. I do know of that one. I don't know what the bill of materials for that. Yeah, Cash, it seems like 3D printing and RC go hand in hand. Tony, awesome. Yeah, Salad Fork's a cool printer for sure. Tool changing, I don't know. A tool changing would be cool. I just don't know if I'll ever have the time to put that much effort in. That's a lot of work. Hopefully I have enough belt here. We're going to see. I think I'll just have enough belt here to actually clamp these. So let's see if we can zip tie these wherever my zip ties went. So the belts are just clamped in with zip ties. Again, I'm trying to eliminate as much hardware as possible. If I can get away with just zip ties, then I will. So that's perfect there. Clip this. All right, so let's see if we can get this other belt. These belts were from the old frame, and I'm trying to reuse them, and I think I can get away with it. Yeah, that's a good question. To make this self-replicating, the bed would have to be increased by probably by 20 millimeters, so like a full 200 by 200, but without increasing the size of the printed parts. So I would have to split the frame a little bit into smaller sections, which is a little bit difficult. I'm sure there's a way around it, but how does the lack of heat set inserts work for screws? If you unscrew and rescrew them, it doesn't work. If you're meaning in like threading into plastic, there's not very many screws that thread into plastic on this. Everything is backed by an M3 nut, so they thread into a metal M3 nut on the other side. Your wife hates the Rook because you're always tinkering with it. Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of 3D printing. I've disassembled and built 3 Rooks already, just changing iterations, making them better. Any plans collaborating with Chinese folks, releasing a kit from Mello? Yuri, there's some talk. There's some talk of hardware kits potentially in the works for Rook 180 and also Rook. Maybe. I can't guarantee anything, but there potentially could be a hardware kit available in Canada and the US. Potentially. Don't quote me on that. Outer size of the frame is 350, Toma. And Mad P3D build volumes 180 by 180 by 180 build area. And if anyone new is just joining the stream, my GitHub is at the top of the chat. I've pinned it up at the top of the chat if you're interested in more specs and whatnot. All right, perfect. So this looks good. My lower belts ran. Everything's nice and zip tied, so we're good. So we can start running the top belt now. You should look into Pouch to help you motion kit. Yeah, I don't know if Pouch. My only concern is bearings and rods for some of these printers. Pouch, I don't know. I don't think they have LM8UU bearings or rods. And again, for hardware kits, I don't know what's going to be included yet. If it's going to be rods and bearings or just going to be nuts and bolts and things like that. Coarse thread self-tapping screws work really on the plastic. Yeah, there's definitely... If there is a bolt that threads into plastic, it's a very small hole, like 2.8 millimeters, so it has a good amount of grip. And I'll never design this so that that's like a bolt that's going to be under tension. Generally, it's just basic bolts, like maybe side panels, for instance. You can see here there's M3 holes in the top. These are for mounting like a top acrylic panel, and they just thread into plastic because there's no actual tension on them. Yeah, that'd be great, Stone Farmer. For the Rook is meant to get people into printing, have a nice little tiny printer that sits beside their computer that's very, very cheap. They can use leftover parts, that type of thing. Certainly, that's the idea. Okay, so let's run the top belts here, if I can get this going. It's kind of hard to see in that. External electronics, screen. If you're on, are you on the Discord? The Way Off Grid? You could definitely post on Discord. I don't know if anyone else is allowed to put any links in chat. You can try. My belts are just a little bit bent, so they're tricky to sneak through here sometimes. Hey, Maker Viking, welcome. Yeah, Yuri, if I'm assuming someone is going to make a linear rail mod for this. If someone does make a linear rail mod and they orient the rail the same as like a Voron Trident or anything like that, it would be relatively easy to put like a stealth burner on here or something like that. So there definitely could be potentially a mod for that. You might lose build area. This is relatively wide. You may or may not. I don't know 100%, but I do expect someone to make a linear rail version of this printer for sure. I know not everyone likes linear rods, and that's okay. I do definitely expect there to be a linear rail mod for this guy. There we go. So teeth always face forward on this printer, so your teeth should always be facing the front of the printer. Build is going well so far. Just finishing off this upper belt. So it looks like we got to adjust the pulley on the other side here. So let's quickly adjust that. So if anyone's new to this, let's see if I can get kind of an angle there so you can see. This pulley here is too far down. I need to bring it up. So we're going to just quickly adjust this. And I might have to flip it around. I don't know yet. Yeah, I'm going to have to flip the pulley around. Which means I'm most likely going to have to take the motor out. That should be okay though. So let's swap that motor out really quick. Try to get this back to normal view here. My casing comes right. I started working, making minor time. CoreXY, yeah, CoreXY. It's not necessarily quieter than an extrusion frame. Most of my printers that I build are quite quiet, just based on like the fans and stuff. I don't like fan noise. I hate fan noise more than anything. So I do have to take this motor out because I need to flip the pulley around. Is there room for a dampening surface attached to the bottom? Yeah, there's definitely, you could put in a plate on the bottom if you wanted to. I definitely tried to leave room for that, certainly. See if I can get a good angle on this so I can get this motor out. It's a little annoying, but not the end of the world. Yeah, I do use a Noctua fan for my hot end fan, but that's because I only print PLA. If I was printing ABS, of course, that would be a no-go. Most likely there would be heat creep, just there's not enough airflow. But if you're just going to print PLA, Noctua fan generally has enough airflow. Modern hot ends are generally quite resistant to heat creep, so Noctua fans are fine. So I'll wait till at least when I get more. Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. Thinking of you, Yuri. Hopefully that stuff gets settled over there. I couldn't imagine being there. Yeah, my input shaper so far is quite good on this printer, and we'll run an input shaper. I don't know if I'll be able to run it today, but I'll definitely show off some input shaper on this. I already was getting around 20K on the pink frame. It was printed. This is all printed in PLA. My motors generally don't get hot enough to affect the PLA, but if they did get super warm, you could for surely have issues with that. So, but again, I'm not running. I'm going to run like 5K acceleration or 10K acceleration on this printer, relatively easy, and the motors generally won't get too hot. Superheat is max 140ish, PLA won't. PLA will start to deform around 50, 60 degrees, but generally I don't find it to be a huge issue. Getting 1K. Okay, sorry, $1,000. All right, so I got one more bolt to take out here, and then we can flip this stepper around. There we go. So again, we'll just pull out so this is an E3D 0.9 degree stepper. You don't have to run these. It's 48 millimeters long. So these do fit in the frame. We're just going to swap the pulley over. So I have the pulley in the wrong orientation. I got to flip it. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. These E3D steppers don't have a flat spot. They're just a round shaft, which I don't like, but they work. All right, so we flip the orientation of the pulley, so we can just slide that back in there, and we can put the bolts back in. Easy fix. Will I need to do any mods to the frame for the 40s that were in the older bomb? I'm not sure, Aaron, what you're talking about for the 40s. Oh, 40 millimeter steppers, you mean? I did cut out the frame to allow for 40 millimeter steppers as well. So the Github should have the newest frame on there with cutouts for 40 millimeter steppers. So 40 to 480 will work, or 40 to 48 will still work. Yeah, Steve, I picked up these E3D motors. I think they're older motors. I just bought them used for cheap because I thought I was having issues with the original motors on this printer, but it wasn't the case. But these are still nice motors. They work great. You just got to make sure you tighten down the pulley set screws really good. It's a little odd, but I think they are older motors. I don't know for sure though. Oh yes, yeah, Fahrenheit for sure. Made by Motec. That's a good question. Yes, you are correct. Yeah, made by my Motec. Yeah. I don't know. Are they older steppers, Steve? I've not. I can't say that I've purchased any name brand steppers for like a long time. I usually buy cheaper stepper motors for my builds. There we go. We'll tighten those bolts down and we can start doing the belts. They've been around a long time, but as far as I know, they're quality. Yeah, they seem to work pretty well. I can't say I have any issues with them so far, so I'm hoping to try and really push this printer and see what it can do. I didn't get a chance with the original frame, the pink frame, because I wanted to fix a couple things on it first, but we'll see what Input Shaper likes or thinks of them. Let's tighten these bolts down here. I do hope to have a manual for both the Rook and Rook 180, but there's no ETA on that, just so you know. There we go. So our pulleys swapped. That looks perfect. So now I can raise this up a bit. What steppers did you so Ian, I literally bought some $9 steppers off Amazon, some no name. I actually have them. Did I? Oh, I installed them on my original Rook. Oh, I have them here. These guys. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. These are Shenyang motor. They're 42 millimeter, I think, or 40 millimeter. They come in a pair of 2 on Amazon, and they're $9 a piece. Good night, Joe. Thanks for coming by. Okay, so let's run this top belt through here, hopefully. See it. Hey, thanks, Potato. Thank you very much. There we go. Our top belts ran here. Let's make sure we're on our pulleys. Did you find switching to Clipper refreshing for the hobby as I did? Firmware changes. So the way off grid, how I actually found Clipper was because I decided I wanted to build my first CoreXY printer, and I chose to build the V-King, which was a really cool printer. It was a kind of the bed used V-wheels, if I remember correctly. Really neat. I assembled it and I got it printing, but Marlin on that printer took me forever to get like the touchscreen working, and I had all sorts of issues with it. And then finally I ended up selling the V-King and I bought a CoreXY CoreXY printer, and then I found Clipper because I wanted to make some modifications on the CoreXY. I found Clipper. I installed it on the CoreXY and I never looked back. I know people still like Marlin, and that's totally fine. I understand. I would like Clipper to not have to use like a single board computer or something like that. That would be incredible. That's really the only downside, is you have to have a Pi or a computer or desktop or something to run Clipper. That's the only annoyance I see. And that's really the only thing Marlin has going for it, is Marlin runs right on a board. You spend $50 on a main board and boom, you can run Marlin. You don't need an extra component. Okay, are you gonna cooperate with me here? Just gotta run this one final belt, but it does not want to cooperate, of course. And yeah, Clipper is obviously much, much better for speed due to input shaper and having a faster processor for sure. All right, perfect. So we have our belt ran, and I do have to adjust my pulley. So this pulley here is way too low, so we're gonna raise this up as well. Seems to be much better there. have runs Clipper, no extras, MakerBase, MKS. Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely ran a Clipper on some older MKS boards, is really cool. Okay, so we have our belts mostly ran here, which is great. So slide this back a little bit. So we can fish through this last belt end here, and we should be able to zip tie these up and start tensioning them, and hopefully we can get this printing here in pretty quick. I already have my config built and stuff like that, of course, so it won't take long to get this up and running. Many things in Marlin, like tweaking screens and pins and other stuff, require repack. Yeah, I hate compiling firmware. It just takes so long, and platform I/O and all that kind of stuff is just a pain to work with. You need to it's just not my preference at all. I know Marlin's getting Input Shaper, which is awesome, and I really hope that it keeps growing, and it's another option, right? And that's one of the best parts about 3D printing, is having options. Hopefully I can get this through here. I don't have a dedicated favorite brand of filament, Lucas. I like Polymaker. They make really good, reliable filament, but I've used all sorts of filament. Amaze 3D from Amazon. I've used G-Tech filament. I've used Airy1. I've used all sorts of stuff, but Polymaker is definitely probably the most consistent for sure. But if you want to do speed benchies and stuff like that, just generic PLA, or if you're going to do a speed benchy in PLA, that is, just the cheapest PLA you can find. You don't want PLA Pro or PLA Plus or anything like that for speed runs. I generally find the PLA Pro and PLA Plus need more heat to run quick, and then you gotta really, really have good cooling. I don't know if I've tried any Hatchbox before, but yeah, I mean, I think nowadays most PLA is pretty good, to be honest with you. I think it's generally pretty decent. And again, just to recap, you won't have to do this screwdriver trick to get the belts through on the release version of this printer on GitHub. I've fixed this. This is just an old X carriage. But looks like I'm getting it now here. See if I can push it through. We're on the final stretch. About the only thing I don't like is I hate matte PLA. It smells like wet cardboard. Yeah, Marlin makes sense for OEMs to some extent. Big Tree Tech was very smart in developing the Manta board, because now a lot of their printers can come with Clipper very, very easily. Well, I mangled that belt, but it looks like I got it through. There we go, perfect. All right, we officially ran the belts, finally. I can zip tie those in place really easily. Max speed, I would say 10K acceleration and 200 millimeters a second, I would say. Just based on experience with some of my other designs. Yeah, I really, really like the web interface and all the features in Clipper for sure. I hate using an SD card to print. I absolutely hate it. I love Marlin can run standalone. Yeah, that's Marlin's only real feature is it can run standalone. I wish someone would make like a $50, $60 like I know the Manta M8P exists, but that's still like $130 Canadian. I would like someone to make like a $60 mainboard that runs Clipper natively on the mainboard as well. Like have a RP2040 processor right on the board to run Clipper. I know the Big Tree Tech Pico has a RP2040, but it's not used in for like the actual Clipper processor. Okay, so we've ran our belts. I do need to just adjust the other one. Okay, looks good. Let's tighten these down a bit here. Alright, so everything is looking pretty good here for belts. Yeah, SD cards do suck. Yeah, Manta board is a huge leap forward for sure, having everything all in one, less wiring, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, Keegan for sure. RP2040 doesn't run Linux, unfortunately, so that's the downside really to Clipper is you kind of need a bit more heavyweight processor to run a fully dedicated OS. Rob and Wend, can I ask to get the step file updated in the repo? Yeah, I will do like an update on the step file. The step file isn't crazy out of date. Most everything you see here is in the step file. It's the most recent version. However, there's a couple itty bitty minor tweaks in the step file that's not in there. Like I added holes to the bed frame and all that kind of stuff. So I will actually update that. So I do have holes in here for the Prusa mini bed now. There's some holes because I don't have a Prusa mini bed yet. It's coming from AliExpress. I did order one. Printing legacy yesterday. Yeah. Yes, you're right. I had to use an SD card to print on my Bamboo Lab printer yesterday when the cloud had that blip. But don't get me started on the Bamboo Lab cloud printing. Might be possible to port Clipper. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you could get Clipper running on an ESP32, and I know ESP32s and boards like that are getting more and more powerful, so that would be really cool to have some sort of firmware that runs on an ESP32. Your boot up time would be near instantaneous. Really good Wi-Fi natively on the ESP32. Like, there's a lot of good features, but again, they're definitely slower than a Raspberry Pi. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think it was yesterday. It was a couple days ago now. Better bootloader USB flash big tree. Yeah, you always have to flash over. My Manta boards, I've always had to flash over SD card. I've never been able to get like DFU mode working. Okay, so we've ran our belts. Everything's working really nice. It's really smooth. I'm very happy. So we're gonna actually tension the belts now with the bolts here. So this is a little bit weird in the fact that both of my bearing stacks, the upper and lower, are going to get tension at the same time. I don't think he's on stream, but Wood Knight has already made this printer and he's got it printing this version of the frame and it seems to work. So we are going to try the tensioning here, and I'm going to tension both sides as equally as I possibly can. And hopefully it works. Seemingly works fine. Again, I'm trying to just tension both sides equally. Everything still seems nice and smooth here. Oh, hey Nathan, welcome, welcome. So I'm just trying to, again, I'm trying to do equal tension here on the belts. Everything's still really nice. They're pretty equal. It seems like pretty equal here. We're gonna just tension a bit more on the one. That's looking quite good. Let's check on this here. That's looking good. Get up my phone here. I just want to check, make sure the bolts aren't touching the bearings. It's looking okay. Okay, so this is actually quite nice and tensioned. Let's check the tramming here. So both of my carriages here are nice and flat up against the frame. They're not skewed in any way. So that's a really good sign. Just going to tension this a little bit more on the one side. Yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with this as far as tension for now. I think that's actually in a pretty good place. Yeah, sorry, focus is definitely jumping around a little bit. Let's see if I can actually, yeah, basically lock that in. Configure video, camera control, focus. There, I turned autofocus off. Hopefully it'll be better for you guys. It shouldn't, yeah, it should stay focused now on the printer. Yeah, I know Bamboo Lab has a LAN only mode, but I use it so much, I just haven't messed around with it. I know that LAN mode still is a little bit odd too. It's not like as simple as it looks or whatever. Yeah, my gantry is nice and flat against the frame. Really, really nice. So I think we're ready to start mounting the electronics. Okay, so some people might have to close their eyes. I am going to be drilling into the frame. I don't really have a board mount in this frame yet. So I am going to be doing some drilling in the back of this. So I have my my rat's nest. I don't know, I'll show you guys this a little bit better here. But here's my my rat's nest of a setup here. So I'm going to drill some holes here so I can just mount the board on the back here. Again, I don't have a mounting solution quite yet, so we're going to do some modifications to the back of this. It shouldn't be too big of a deal. I will mute so that you don't hear a drill running like crazy. Yeah, I've heard of people on YouTube and stuff like that for the bamboo, like carbon dust is on the rods and you're supposed to clean them regularly. I've got about 300 hours on mine. I haven't checked mine yet, but I mean, they're going to wear out a little bit. So that's something to know there, I guess, if you're considering. So we're going to be drilling probably right about here. See if I can make a little indentation. Okay, I'm going to just mute really quick so people don't have to hear this. All right, I'm back there. Hopefully everyone can hear me still. So I have just an old mount here I'm going to be using. Are the linear rods hardened or anything as well? I was looking on AliExpress and some of them just say stainless steel. You want to try to get like the hardened linear rods if you can. Bobby Digital. Yeah, I'm trying not to have people hear the really janky drilling I have to do because I don't have a board mount yet for this guy. I'm assuming I have mounting for the LRS 200 here. So, yeah. But I don't have a tray yet for it. The vertical supports are 10 milli rods, and the carbon fiber rods are okay to use as vertical supports. The vertical supports are 10 millimeter rods. On which printer do you mean there, Stone Farmer? What am I doing here? I'm gonna just screw this one in here. Oh, for the Rook, the original Rook, the vertical support rods. Oh, they're 8 millimeters on the original Rook. On this one, they're 12 millimeters. Carbon rods should work. Carbon rods is very difficult to find rods that have the same outer diameter or a very consistent outer diameter. I recommend you order at least 4 to 6 rods to get a good one. I've ordered 6 like 8 millimeter rods back in the day, and I did get 2 that worked. Yeah, I think carbon rods for Z, because it's not a fast moving axis, you would save money. They're definitely cheaper than these 12 millimeter rods if you went carbon rods. And they do sell them on AliExpress, 12 millimeter carbon rods. Again, not tested. Don't quote me on that. I've not tried them, but they're definitely cheaper and you could potentially save some money. Okay, so let's just line this up. So we're going to do some drilling again. Okay, so we can mount the FISEC spider now. Could you change the green versus blue frame pieces to adjust the sizes so all the components? Change the green. Yeah, you could probably make these a bit longer if that's what you mean. Okay, so we got our 2 holes here so I can mount the spider board. And then honestly, we just got to bolt on the tool head and hook up layer cooling and we should be printing here pretty quickly. Fingers crossed. Everything seems to be looking good here on the new frame. I don't see any gotchas yet, but like I say, Wood Knight on Discord has already assembled this printer and he is printing on it on this frame version, so I don't expect there to be too many issues. Okay, I'm gonna need a longer bolt for that, I guess. I'm just trying to get my mount ready here for the spider. I had to steal my spider board off of the off of my Defiant cross gantry printer because I didn't have another 8 driver board, or 6 driver board I should say. Make the green joiners longer and then the blue corners shorter so they would fit on the Rook 180. Yeah, there's probably definitely some what's the word? Fine tuning or things like that that you could do to make it fit on a one, like on a. These are only 180 millimeters long, so they're close. They're really close. Yeah, I think there is going to be some sort of rep wrap mod for this on Discord. It's only a matter of time. Okay, so. Hey Isaiah, thank you very much. Yes, I know I need more Delta. I will eventually design Phoenix version 2 soon. Or soon-ish, I should say. I can't guarantee when that's going to be, but I have not lost my love for Deltas. There definitely needs to be more Delta content on YouTube for sure. Just getting this board all mounted up. And then I'll show off a little bit of the wiring. We can talk about the wiring if you guys would like to see a little bit, just a little preview on the wiring and stuff like that. Okay, so that's that. Definitely thread this in now. Yeah, I would love to build a Skara printer, a Skara 3D printer for sure. If I could find like a really robust 3D printed design, if you have any to recommend, I'd love to do one of those builds. Are the linear rods hardened? Hardened rods are for surely recommended. Stainless steel rods, I do think, like in the rep wrap days, they still hold up pretty fine. I honestly don't think you really have to go crazy on like hardened steel ones. I think you should be okay. Okay, let's see if I can get this bolted on. How long have we been? Scar is cool, but take it to the next level and go full 5-6 axis arm. That would be neat. The bamboos have VFA issues on prints, people. Yes. Have you noticed the issue? I have not really noticed VFA. I do get VFA on PETG prints. But I'm also printing PETG at a speed that it shouldn't be printed on, so it's acceptable to me. My Bamboo X1 Carbon is a Kickstarter one, so I don't know if it's slightly better somehow or something like that. I've actually been having pretty good luck with it. Now, that being said, I'm not crazy picky on surface finish for VFA because my X1 is meant as a tool. It just prints out mechanical stuff. But I have printed some other models and things like that. And I don't seem to have any vertical fine artifacts on mine. All right, so let's get this hopefully mounted up on the back of the printer here so that we can start plugging everything in, or so we can talk about it a little bit. Yeah, I know. Didn't Prusa printers have VFA, like a lot of VFA issues as well? It's not just Bamboo. Like again, there's a lot of different reasons. Yeah, that's probably good enough. Okay, so wiring, terrible wiring example, but this is a FISEC spider. I had this lying around. So generally how I have the spider set up, and generally most 6-stepper boards will be set up. I have my X, Y, I have my 3-stepper motors. So this here is my front left stepper. This is my center rear stepper. And this is my front right stepper. That's generally the order in how the Z-Tilt will use the steppers. It'll check this one, then this one, then this one. You got to make sure that they're in this order based on the config that I have. And then my last one, of course, is my extruder. And yeah, I am missing a I'm missing a heatsink. It fell off. We just have the heater here for my Triangle Labs. So I'm using a Triangle Labs TD6S. These are my favorite hot end. They're like the cheapest ceramic heater hot end that I can get. I really like them. Well, we're using BL Touch, so you can see my BL Touch setup right here. I'm running a 50-15 fan overvolted. Once you kind of build a printer, the wiring does start to make sense, especially when you start looking at, the connectors only go in one way. The boards are relatively labeled really nicely. There's usually a lot of documentation. FISEC has really good documentation. I will have an MKS Monster 8 config for this printer on GitHub as well. So boards mounted, that's awesome. We're going to plug in my steppers here. And I did mark this so I knew. So this is my, usually how CoreXY always works is your stepper driver that's on this side plugs into the opposite side. That's generally how you'll get your motion working right off the gate the correct way. So stepper driver, so X goes to this motor, Y goes to this motor. Generally, you'll have the best luck if you wire it that way. Your X and Y will be the correct orientation and stuff like that when you go to print and whatnot, usually. Depending on how you have your motor directions and stuff set up. So, yes, they should have a thermal pad on them, and which is totally fine. Okay, so AB motors are wired up, other words X and Y motors. So we're going to actually start plugging in my Z motors while we're here. So again, let's go through here what I have set up. So the very first Z motor is always your front left. So we're going to plug this into the front left motor. So there we go, front left Z motor is plugged in. So we're now going to do center rear. So here's my center rear stepper lead. We're going to plug that in. Lift up the bed here a bit. So centers it. Now let's put it under the frame, I guess. Even though it's not going to look really clean or anything like that, we'll still put it under the frame. So center rear is plugged in, and now we're going to do front right. And that just plugs in here. And all of our motion steppers are plugged in. So all that's really is left is mounting up the tool head, and we'll mount the layer fan, and we should be able to get printing here pretty quick. So let's take this. Let's bolt this up to we need some heat sets. So I'll show you guys here on the design for the tool head. I definitely tried to make this very modular so that people can mod it easier. So I'm just going to bring in the view here a bit better for you so you can see it. Hopefully that's in view for you guys there. Let me just grab my M3 nuts, wherever those might be. All right, so for the X carriage on this printer, I actually designed it so that the X carriage and the tool head are separate. This way people can make different tool heads for different hot ends. So I have some slots here so that M3 nuts can go in. Again, no heat sets on this printer because it is for beginners. So they just drop in there. You can see the M3 nut drops in. So if the top belt is looser than the bottom, again, when you're running the belts, you really want to make sure that your belts are as equal tension as possible when you first run them. And then you can tension both sides equally. So far, I'm in pretty good shape here. These are pretty equal as far as the tension's concerned, but there'll be some fine tuning and adjustment that I might have to do. And I can check the squareness of my gantry if I press this all the way back. both sides are touching the back at the exact same time, so I know my gantry is square and it's not skewed. So far we're in good shape with the belt tensioning on this version of the frame. So I just dropped in 2 M3 nuts there, and we are going to bolt the hot end on, or the tool head on here first, and then we're going to do the BL touch. And we're just going to bolt these in here, hopefully. Okay, those are on. And there's just 2 on the bottom. Very straightforward, only 4 bolts total. Hopefully have the heat sets are still, the M3 bolts are still in here. Yep, that one's in. So put this one in here, and it looks like the heat, or not the heat set, the M3 bolt just fell out the bottom here, so I'll just add a new one. That's pretty easy. Might be tricky to do on do this upside down, but we'll see here. Yeah, I probably have to use a pair of pliers. Match the teeth. Yeah, I'm sure you could really go what's very precise and mark the belts if you wanted to, and cut them to the exact same length and all that kind of stuff. That probably would be okay. I think it works just fine, just taking your time when you first run them, and generally you should be okay, but okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to turn this on its side, it looks like, because that's a little bit too annoying. So let's flip this on its side gently. Blowers for the Rook 180. I'm using a 5015 blower on this. Original Rook uses a 120 millimeter blower on the back. But there are mods for all sorts of different fans for the original Rook, of course. There we go. That one went in much easier when it's on its side. Pop that M3 right in. There we go. All right, so our tool head is now mounted. So the next step is to actually put on the BL Touch. And that's just 2 M3 by 10 bolts. So we'll put our BL Touch in here. Actually, I don't even want M3 by 10. This is too big. We'll do M3 by 8, just so I don't have to thread it in as much. Definitely don't need 10 millimeters. Any issues with integrated heat break? Nope, I've not had a single problem with this Triangle Labs. Should have actually done this when it was on its side. I really do like this Triangle Labs TD6S hot end. It's excellent. The ceramic heater is really, really fast. Good build quality. It's cheap. This might even be too long of a let's use this. bolt this in here. My Z offset should not have changed, so we'll see if that holds true. There we go. BL Touch is all mounted up. All right, so we are going to put the layer fan on here. We'll put on the good old Noctua is what I'm using for this build. Because again, this printer is just going to print PLA. Is this long enough? I think. Oh, actually, I do have an accelerometer that we're going to put on here. So I do actually have the FISEC 80XL. This is my favorite 80XL. It's an all-in-one. It has an RP 2040 processor directly on the circuit board. It's really, really nice and convenient. So that's what I had on here when I took it apart. So we're just going to pop that back on. All right. So there's our Noctua fan and our 80XL mounted. So here's our layer cooling. This is just a modified EVA 2.4 tri-horn. And then I just made an adapter. I think there's a better version of this on the Discord. It's easier to print. It doesn't have this sharp turn. It's more angular and a bit easier to print. I do believe this is mostly M3 by 10 and then one M3 by 8. These just thread into plastic because I can't have M3 bolts go all the way through on this particular part. So we'll just get these ready here. So it's 2 or 3 M3 by 10s and then an M3 by 8. And they just go into the back here like this. So you have to mount the duct first, and then we're going to actually bolt the 5015 fan on after. And again, these just thread into plastic. There's no weight on this, so. There we go. Nice and secure. Okay. Get this one last bolt here. Going to use this as an excuse to buy a laser cutter. Yeah, that would be cool. Laser cut some acrylic panels for an enclosure for this. I definitely want to get a laser cutter. One day. All right, our layer cooling fan is mounted. That looks perfect. So we can now bolt on our 5015. This is a 12 volt GDS time that I'm going to be overvolting, like I say, with 24 volts. So, oh, these are not M3 by 10s. What are these for bolts? These are probably... That's way too big, I'm sure. Let's see here, where are this? Yeah, need to get a sponsor for a laser cutter, like a nice CO2 laser or something like that, and cut all sorts of cool stuff. Much more airflow than you would normally get on a 24-volt fan. Again, I recommend GDS time fans, and you must get ball bearing fans. Oops. Wires out of the way there. All right, I think we're pretty much buttoned up here. This looks great. Everything's running nice and smooth. So we do need to attach my 24-volt power lead. I am using an AC adapter for this printer still. I do have a Meanwell power supply, but I have not, I don't have an inlet for this yet. So I do have a LRS 200 for this, and I do have M4 bolt holes on the side here so it can mount, and I'll show that off a little bit here. So where is my 24-volt power lead now? So I am using an AC adapter, so I'm just going to attach this lead to my power supply, or to my main board. So we're going to attach this to power in, positive. This probably is just enough for this printer without a heated bed. On the bill of materials, I do recommend a 200 watt LRS 200 at least. So there we go, negative to negative, positive to positive. So there's our power connection. So let's flip this around. This, and then I do have a USB-C. So I have a laptop. I have a laptop underneath my table here that's running Clipper. That's my preferred way to use my printers because I can run multiple. So we're just going to plug this into USB. There we go. And then fingers crossed. There we go. So we're wired up. BL Touch is working. I should be able to pop open my Rook 180. So I'll pop that out here. We're going to firmware restart. And we are connected. The Rook 180 is back alive. So I need to heat up the hot end and we can load some filament. And what filament am I going to print out with? So I have some Sparta 3D, if anyone is in Canada. They make really great filaments. Sparta 3D, they got Galaxy filament, really good ABS. Feed this in here. All right, so probably let's see what do we have here for. We'll do some roll of wiring here. We'll just get the zip tied up so it works better. Yeah, well, painter's tape I can just reapply, so YOLO. We'll send it, and I'm sure it'll be good. So I'll get that should be okay. Not the greatest filament path here with all the cables, but I'll fix that later, I guess. Shouldn't snag on anything, I don't think. All right, so let's move the camera down a bit here. Let's move this there. All right, so let's extrude some plastic. There we go. We're extruding plastic. I am in Alberta, Canada. And we are extruding. All right, so I already have some G-code on here. Let's print a Rolocube. Okay, I definitely do not have my wires correct. Try this again. See. There we go. Just gonna adjust my stepper or my sensorless homing sensitivity here because I did rebuild the printer and it is definitely much smoother than what it was before, so we'll just see if we can't get that running nice and clean. That's nice. So on Y, I'm going to change my sensitivity as well, because I know it probably wants to be much more sensitive. All right, so let's home this up again really quick. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Let's go M84, shut the motors off. So let's see if I can print a Rolocube. So we're doing Z-tilt right now. This is tramming the bed. Clipper is doing Z-tilt tramming. Yeah, I definitely need to set up like a multi-view so people can see my screen for sure. So we're just doing a Z-tilt right now, making sure the bed is nice and level. So it's at 0.03. It's off right now. So it's going to get that down to 0.006 minimum. We're at 0.018 now. And we're there. We're at 0.012 actually is what I have my tolerance set at. And I want to put something under this 1 foot. This is probably too. That should be okay. Yeah, tramming is always so awesome. It's one of my favorite parts. So we're heating up to 220. I'm printing on painter's tape, so 220 first layer. Nice and hot, sticks really nice to the painter's tape, and then we'll go down to 195. So we're already at 220. This hot end is very fast. Yeah, I probably should. I can change my tolerance more, for sure. I'm pretty conservative. Yeah, looks like the Z offset is spot on. Yeah, tap is supposed to be really, really accurate. I don't know if Steve is still here, but I've heard tap is very, very accurate. And let's just go back so I can see the camera here. Try and set up a bit better of a view here, if I can. I'll try to get in focus for you guys as well here. Looks like this is as good as we're gonna get for the focus. This is tempered glass. I usually buy all my glass on Amazon, and it's the tempered borosilicate kind. I wonder if painter's tape might squish under tap. I actually don't know if it would. I mean, it's pretty thin, but it probably would squish a little bit, maybe. So, there we go, Rolocube. I don't remember what my settings are on this. Actually, I can look. I think we're at... so this is 10,000 acceleration, and we're printing at 100 to 150 depending on the parameter. 150 infill, 150 inner perimeters, and 100 outer, I believe. And I'm only running my cooling at 30%. This fan is really good at cooling PLA. And my table is very wobbly, so any wobbling you see is the camera's frame rate and my table wobbling. I've definitely used Clicky Probe without a dock, and I've had to take the probe off the toolhead, print. I've definitely forgot it sometimes, and then rammed into the bed and stuff because I was too lazy to print out a dock. But yeah, so far this is looking really good, nice and smooth. Yeah, printing very well so far. Really happy. The new frame seems to be working quite nicely. Again, this is all on GitHub. As you see it here, I am using older Y carriages, but the newer Y carriage is on GitHub. Just a small revision on them. It's actually quite quiet. I'm happy about the Y bearings because I'm using these LM8UU bearings on Y now. No, I'm not using Delrin, and I thought they were going to be loud, but they're perfectly silent. I'm definitely going to have to retune Input Shaper. There's definitely some ringing and artifacts and such, and my belts might be still a little bit loose. I could probably tighten those down just a little bit. Yeah, I'm sure I could do 200 speed. Film Factory, I have to rerun Input Shaper and do some fine tuning and stuff like that for sure, but I don't see why 200 wouldn't be achievable. The frame is very solid. See if I can tweak it a little bit here. Yeah, Lucas, I definitely will release Cappy sometime later this year. I want to tweak a couple things on it and make it just a little bit better. Yeah, I definitely need to run printers on the ground. You get a website, have a speed matching complex, only your printers. Yeah, that would be pretty cool, Bilfred. I would like to do some sort of speed Rolocube thing. Maybe have two categories, one on only Rolo printers and one just on normal printers. I don't have a whole lot of information on Evo Woodcat. Looking at a printable area of 150 by 150 by 150-ish. Should be pretty similar price to original Rook. Fully enclosable. Can be direct drive and Bowden. It's definitely going to have some neat features. Hopefully very, very moddable, even more moddable than original Rook. Yeah, definitely not the greatest print, but this is a config from my other frame, so that's to be expected. Yeah. Yeah, rock salt would be a good judge, Joe, for sure. You try and make the smallest possible CoreXY. I've thought about it, just like a benchy size CoreXY, like 80 by 80 by 80. Yeah, just wrapping up, Mitsubishi. Let's see here. Yeah, pretty happy so far with how it's printing. It's quiet as well. Definitely needs some tuning though. I definitely got to rerun input shaper and stuff like that. Oh no, it's my table that's shaking around, Brennan. It's not the printer. Next time I do my YouTube, when I do a YouTube video on the new frame, I will put it on the floor and I'll show it printing. But yeah, that's all I had for this live stream. We actually accomplished quite a bit. Officially 2-hour live stream. I really appreciate everyone joining. That's awesome. Chat GPT. That'd be awesome. I definitely have some artifacts and such on this print, but I'll have to rerun input shaper and make sure my belts are tight and such. But I'm pretty happy with it so far. Oh yeah, Rook MK1 for the people who stayed. Yes, thank you for reminding me, Lucas. I will show that off. Okay, so sorry for the jankiness here, but this is a Rook MK1 version that is going to be released. So single belted Z. The linear rods are not attached to the frame anymore, and they are adjustable. So you can actually, no more binding anymore on Rook. See if I can get this somewhat set up. So yeah, much better. No more threaded inserts. There's no threaded inserts on this printer anymore. They're all gone. So yeah, just using what I have, of course. See if I can get, apologize for the shakiness, but so yeah, belted Z. I just finished building this printer today. I have not done really much with it yet. Still very early as far as making sure everything's all good. So linear rods are gone from the frame. It's cheaper. This is like $20 to $30 cheaper. There's only one stepper motor for Z. I've moved the MCU up to the front. The gantry is the same. I haven't changed the gantry at all. I do love heat sets, but for beginners, it's a little bit difficult for people to get into, like right off the get-go. So I'm just trying to make this more accessible. So lead screws are gone from this printer. And there are slots, so you could actually put a side panel on here if you want to. This can have side panels now if you do want a little bit of enclosure-ness to it. It probably will help the rigidity of the printer as well, some printed side panels. So far it's pretty good. I'm going to make a version with linear rails for the Z. This does have a little bit of wobble to it. It shouldn't be a big deal, but I got to do a bit more testing. Yep, side panels can add a bit of rigidity if you want. Yeah, you can see my table's just shaking like crazy, unfortunately, but yeah, I'm also making the stock Ender 3 hot end toolhead much better. This one is a prototype and it's cracked here, but it's much stronger and much easier to use. Yeah, so there will be a linear rail Z version. So this does have a little bit of play. These bearings do have a little bit of play. So I'm gonna have a linear rail version. It's super easy to do. These are actually adjustable. So if I can show you, these on the frame here slide back and forth. Same thing on the top. These slide back and forth. They're fully adjustable. The spec for this printer is an AC adapter, Sean. So there is no mount for the power supply because it's an AC adapter that would go on the floor or something like that. For this printer, it's just AC adapter. So yeah, that's MK1 Rook. Like I say, there's still going to be printers like this for free. I'll always update Rook and Rook 180 for free, but I will have some printers and the files will only be available on Patreon for some printers, but these of course will always stay free. These are 170 millimeters, so pretty small, 170. And the bed frame is already ready for a V0 bed, right from default. You can run a piece of glass like I am. You could run a heater still under here, like a 100mm heater on glass. You can run a V0 bed, all sorts of different options. So it will come with the mounting holes already for some M4 kind of your typical bed screw mounts. That is up to you, Mitsubishi. MK1 or Rook Evo, they're definitely different printers. Rook Evo will be enclosable. This is still not, it's still hard to enclose the top of this. So I would say Rook Evolution for sure. Why not place the Z motor and the belt drive to support the bed from the top of the triangle bed holder like you do in Rook 180? I'm not sure what you mean on that one. Place the Z motor on support. You mean the motor rotated in the way that the Rook 80 has? I basically tried to simplify the Z as much as I can on this, so it is cantilever like the V0. Two rods in the front. There's just too much binding. The problem with the original Rook is this bottom frame is all a single piece. If this frame doesn't print out absolutely perfect, these front rods would never be straight enough. And that's what a lot of people are having issues with on Discord. So I've taken the rods out of the frame, and they're now adjustable in the rear. So Rook, because the top and bottom piece, that's one single piece. And these warp really, really easily. I've also put relief cuts in the frame so that it should help for warping as well. I've tried to put everything that I've seen on the Discord into this version. This is going to be like MK1 finished. I won't touch this printer probably for a year, unless some things come up or whatever. But I'm not going to release this version until I'm happy with how it prints, and I want to have the linear rail version out. So yeah, that is Rook, original Rook. I'm going to just turn on focus, autofocus, so you guys can just get a bit better look at the printer. Hopefully that makes it just a bit better with the autofocus. So rods on two corners and belt drive on the third corner so that it's not a cantilever. So the rods actually don't hold the bed up. They only hold the bed from twisting in X and Y. And I only want this to be one belt, not three like Rook 180. Again, I want it to be cheap and simple. Is the Rook Evo on Patreon? Now I'm missing a bit. So yeah, Rook Evolution, Brennan, is on my Patreon. There's a separate tier for it. You don't have to subscribe to it yet. The files aren't out yet, but that does give you access to a Discord channel, a private Discord channel for the Rook Evolution, and you will get the files when they come out. But you can wait till the printer releases in like a month. Will the bomb change a lot? The Rook Evolution does have a different bill of materials. It is slightly different for sure. This has been some of the most informative 2 hours. Well, I appreciate it, Stone Farmer. I hope that this is informative. That's kind of why I'm doing a stream, so people can learn. And if you're building a Rook 180 or you're building a Rook, you can much easier ask questions and get direct answers to it. So like I say, look out for this in about a week, and I'll be showing more of this off on Discord. Does Rook 180 fit NFs? There's a lot of room for a extruder on the Rook 180. An NF Sunrise may fit. The Orbiter 2 is quite wide. It probably would work. You'd have to check the CAD and see, but there's quite a bit of room on the Toolhead here. You can see there's a lot of extra space there to mount an extruder. I actually ordered the VZ hex extruder or whatever you call it. I'm going to try that out on Rook 180, and I want to see if that's any better than the Orbiter. So there we go. Rook Rolo cube finished. Definitely some issues, but a little bit of banding and such. But again, I need to redo input shaper and things like that, and I don't know if my my belts are completely tight yet, but it actually looks pretty good. Are the feet the same for both? Yes, the feet are identical. The frame is different, Stone Farmer. So the old Rook version versus the Rook MK1, the top and bottom frame are different. You need to reprint the top and bottom frame. But all the motor mounts, all that kind of stuff's the same. Idler mounts, they're all the same. So the feet will work on the MK1 Rook. I got silver, I think, Barlos. I bought silver, I'm pretty sure. Maybe I bought the black one. I actually don't remember now. I'm excited to try it out, see if it improves print quality. I want to directly compare it to like an Orbiter, and I also have a sail fin too. Oh, perfect, Stone Farmer then. Yeah, just wait like a week or so. I will make an announcement on Discord, and I'll probably do a live stream just dedicated for the Rook MK1, so everyone can see the new changes and ask questions and things like that. So the hardware is basically the same. You just don't need one more. You can get rid of one of the steppers. You don't need lead screws anymore. You don't need lead couplers for the Z. So it saves about 20 to 30 bucks. I wish I had a CNC version of the Rook. That'd be amazing. But yeah, that's all I had for you guys today. Thank you very much, Brendan. I really appreciate it. It goes a long way. All that goes right back into the channel on buying parts and making configs for you guys and updating STLs and stuff like that. Like I say, there's always going to be free printers from me. Free designs for the most part. Most of the printers will be that way, but if I want to start doing YouTube more, and if I want to start doing 3D printer design more and making the designs as good as I can, I need to put more time into it. So I need to offset the cost of that, because I'm just doing it basically on weekends and at night and stuff like that. So maybe one day I can fully transition to just designing my own printers and like selling hardware kits and things like that. But that's a long ways away still. But I certainly appreciate everyone joining, and I appreciate everyone on the Discord. We have an awesome community on there. A lot of helpful people, not just for my printers, but for all sorts of printers. We have people doing Voron builds on there, Mercury 1 builds on there. We have a very active Delta channel on the Discord. A lot of really cool people on there. So it's a really, really friendly community, and generally we'll try to help you out with anything. Ender 3s, it doesn't matter what printer you have. There's a lot of good Clipper information on there and that type of thing. So I really appreciate everyone joining these streams. Like I say, I'm trying to make do these more often and my streaming will improve. I plan on changing my office around and hopefully be able to live stream better and have some multi-cams and show my screen off and things like that. So all that kind of stuff is coming. I definitely do have plans to do uh, more builds and more streams and make my setup even better than what it is. But yeah, thanks again, everyone. I'll end the stream here. Appreciate everyone coming to join. This was a good, like, 2 hour stream. Got a lot accomplished. Rook 180 is back up and running. I'm going to do some tuning and stuff, and I'll post a lot of pictures and videos on Discord of the printer printing and that type of thing. I think maybe you could do a 220-ish version. I think there is a mod in the Discord for it. I think someone made the mod. So check out the Discord, Rook 180 mods. There's some mods already trickling in there. And I think there's already a couple people. There's already another serial number already for the 180. Someone else did build it. So I am issuing serial numbers for 180s already. So Barlos, it would be cool to have like a prepackaged OS that kind of handles everything for you, like Rad OS would be neat. I just don't have the time and I don't really like development. I've done some Android development and mobile game development before and Python and things like that, and it's not my favorite. So like scripting and all that kind of stuff, I would definitely need to hire somebody or get some help on creating an OS, but it would be really cool to have a Clipper OS that kind of configured a lot of stuff for you already, like the Rat OS does. But that's like a long ways in the future. It would be really neat to generate config files for your printers and stuff like that. But yeah, I'll end the stream here, guys. Thanks again, everyone, for attending. I really appreciate the community that we built up here, and I'm going to keep doing awesome YouTube videos, and I have lots and lots of builds planned. Again, I'm going to be building a second cube on some live streams as well. So that second cube, all the boxes are sitting behind me. So I've got some cool parts coming for it as well. I have a sponsor for that build. So they sponsored an extruder and a hot end, believe. So really cool stuff. Everything can run Doom at this point, I think. But yeah, thanks everyone. I'll end the stream here and catch me over on the Discord. Thanks all.